My sixth and final piece of advice, which is a little bit different than probably what you would hear from a traditional HR environment, is this. Create a culture, an environment of mutual accountability. So what does that mean? It means that not only is the leader and the manager accountable and responsible, but so are the employees. Here's how I see it. Every employee is a business partner. I know this sounds weird and it's not legally set up that way. It's, set up a bit differently, but technically you're inviting them to partner with you to grow your business. So they are, in a most literal sense, a business partner. In fact, when you set compensation, you say, I will give you X amount of money for you to execute a job description, and that job description is designed to support and grow the business. That's, in essence, a business partner. And so what that also means is that they're as much accountable for what they promise to you as you're accountable for what you promise to them. That's why we call them individual contributors, because they're actually contributing to the business. In fact, I like using individual contributors more than I like using the word employee, because I like the sense of ownership. I like the sense of giving to, rather than I'm coming here to take a paycheck, because then it creates a partnership. Because here, if you don't have that attitude and you don't onboard employees that way, then the other old school mentality can jump in. And so when you're meeting with an employee for the first time, have that kind of discussion. Use that terminology so that they're very clear that they are accountable and responsible for what they signed up for. So I call that partnering. If you don't do that, here's what might happen. It might turn into parenting. It's so funny how I'll work with managers and leaders and they've got an underperforming employee or a dysfunctional employee, or, honestly, in some cases, employees that just aren't healthy. And they faked out a really great interview. By the way, people actually really do that. They show up for a great interview, they interview well, and then the real person shows up later. And then you're like, okay, now what do I do? So, by the way, side note, I think it's very important to have a firing philosophy. But okay, back to the story. So when you do hire someone and they show up later, you've got to decide what is it that they were not honest with. Because see, if someone is not in integrity with how they interviewed and then what they can and cannot contribute, you don't want to turn into a parent. Either they can do the work or they can't, or they can be coached to do the work or they can't. If you don't honor that, if you don't see it from that perspective, you end up feeling parental, like you're trying to get them to do things or get them to behave. That's just not a way to live. And it only enables them to be able to control the situation more. If you feel like a parent, I have some very interesting human behavior insight for you. Guess what? They're leading you. They're causing you to go into parent mode. And please understand this, a very important human behavior insight in leadership. Somebody is leading somebody. Are they leading you, or are you leading them? If you hold to the framework of we're here as business partners, you're an individual contributor, and here's the expectations, and I hired you to meet them, and if you can't, well, this may not be the place for you. Honestly, leaders and managers, don't struggle, don't fight with trying to get someone to be something they don't want to be, or they're not willing to be. I've met a good amount of well-meaning managers in the thousands of workshops I've done throughout North America in the past 20 years. And I can tell you this truth. Good-meaning, good-hearted managers hang on to people way too long. And it impacts the team, it impacts the sense of respect that the team has for the manager, and it pollutes the ecosystem. Be very, very clear, going back to our boundaries and tolerances, of what you will and won't tolerate. And if someone shows up later and they acted out of integrity in their interview, then it is time to coach up or definitely coach out. So be very clear in your own mind of what needs to happen. Every employee needs to be held accountable for what they signed up for. They are your business partner.
If you found this clip useful, please remember to like and subscribe for more. You can also visit us at multifamilystudios.com to view full episodes of our latest and greatest shows and interviews.